You saw the message, you read it, and you put the phone down. No reply, no explanation, no guilt, just silence. And here's the part that would shock most people. You felt fine, not sad, not broken, not cold. You felt the way you feel when you finally take off shoes that were 2 sizes too small. Right now, the world is screaming about a loneliness epidemic. Millions of people are desperate for connection, terrified of being alone, reaching out to anyone who will answer. And then there is you, quietly cutting the cord. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your mind, your nervous system, your entire body finally said enough. You were not always like this. There was a version of you that answered every call, that stayed up until 2 in the morning listening to someone else's problems. That rearranged your entire life to keep the peace in a room that never once kept the peace for you. You were the anchor, the one everyone threw their weight onto because they knew you would hold. And you held for years. You absorbed the chaos. You swallowed the criticism. You gave everything you had to people who treated your generosity like a subscription service they never had to pay for. And then one day, you just stopped. No dramatic speech, no final argument, no tearful goodbye. You simply went quiet. You stopped reaching out first. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped performing for people who never once showed up to watch. You waited for the sky to fall. It didn't. The room just got very, very quiet. And for the first time in a long time, you could breathe. But the people around you had a different word for it. They called it cold. But here is what they never understood. Have you ever noticed that you did not actually decide to pull away? It just happened. One day you realized you had stopped trying, and you could not even remember the exact moment it began. That was not a choice. That was biology. Dr. Stephen Porges spent decades developing what is now known as the Polyvagal Theory. And what it tells us is this: your autonomic nervous system is running a continuous background scan. Every single moment of every day, it is asking one question: am I safe here? When you spend months or years in relationships where the answer keeps coming back as no, where every interaction costs more than it gives, where you walk away from conversations feeling emptied instead of filled, your nervous system stops waiting for your conscious mind to act. It acts for you. It triggers what Porges calls the dorsal vagal shutdown. It physically withdraws you. It reduces your motivation to engage. It dampens your desire to reach out. It makes silence feel safer than any conversation. This is not you being a bad friend. This is your body protecting what is left of you before you completely collapse. This is your biology doing what your loyalty was too afraid to do. Now the question is, why is your nervous system so sensitive to this in the first place? The answer lives in a house you grew up in. You are 7 years old. You walk into the kitchen and before you say a single word, you already know. You can feel it. The temperature of the room, the weight in the air, the way the silence is sitting. You learned before anyone ever taught you how to read a person's mood from the way they set a coffee cup down, how to make yourself smaller so the storm would pass over you instead of through you. How to be invisible when invisible was the safest thing to be. Renowned psychiatrist Dr. Murray Bowen called this emotional cutoff, a pattern where a person learns at a very young age that emotional closeness is unpredictable and potentially dangerous. So they develop something extraordinary, an almost superhuman ability to detect threat in a relationship before it even arrives. That 7-year-old standing in that kitchen is still inside you today, still scanning, still calculating, still deciding who is safe and who is not. And when someone triggers that old alarm, you do not wait for confirmation. You already know, and you have always known. But knowing where it came from raises the most important question of this entire video. Are you protecting yourself, or are you hiding? Because there are 2 types of people who cut others off. The first builds a wall. Tall, thick, permanent, built from fear, built from pain that was never processed, built to keep everyone out, the toxic and the trustworthy alike. A wall does not protect you. A wall imprisons you inside your own isolation. The second builds a fence. A fence has a gate, built from self-respect, built from clarity, built from knowing exactly what you will and will not tolerate. Offense says, you are welcome here if you come with honesty, with effort, with reciprocity. Offense says the door is open, but I decide who walks through it. Here's how you know which one you are building. When you cut someone off, someone genuinely toxic, consistently draining, repeatedly disrespectful, does your body feel relief? A deep, physical, quiet relief, like something heavy was finally lifted from your chest. That is not isolation. That is detox. But if cutting someone off leaves you with a guilt that makes no sense, a longing that keeps returning no matter how toxic they were, that might be a wall, and walls deserve attention. Know the difference, because your entire freedom lives inside that difference. And if you have been making this distinction your entire life, cutting the right people, keeping the right ones, without anyone ever teaching you how, there is a reason. Your brain is built differently. Recent neurological research shows that individuals who grew up managing other people's emotional states develop significantly higher activity in the prefrontal cortex, specifically in threat detection. You process social data at a different speed. When someone love bombs you, you see the withdrawal coming before it arrives. When a friend only calls during their crisis and disappears during yours, you registered that pattern the second time it happened. When someone's words and their energy do not match, your body catches it before your mind names it. You are not paranoid. You are not antisocial. You are not broken. You have built through years of necessity one of the most sophisticated early warning systems a human being can develop. You are not someone who runs away from people. You are someone who runs toward a version of yourself that refuses to exist in chaos. And the world needs a word for people like you. Not cold, not avoidant, not difficult, selective. The Harvard study of adult development is the longest running study on human happiness ever conducted. 80 years of data. And the conclusion was this: it is not the size of your circle that determines your well-being. It is the safety of it. If your circle fits in one hand, if every single person in it shows up, respects your peace, and pours back into you the way you pour into them, you are not doing life wrong. You are doing it exactly right. Now remember that message, the one you put the phone down on, the one you never replied to. That was not you being cold. That was not you being broken. That was you, finally, after everything you have carried, choosing yourself. Your peace is not cheap. Not everyone can afford it. And you have finally stopped giving discounts. Subscribe to this channel. Every week we go deeper into the real psychology behind why you think, feel, and act exactly the way you do. And before you go, one question for the comments. Do you think cutting people off is a sign of genuine strength? Or is it sometimes fear wearing the mask of peace? Drop your honest answer below. I read every single one.